Hello everyone, welcome to this webinar, Advisory Services Are Important. I'm Peter Towers, Managing Director of ESS BIZTOOls. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Time for reflection. Do accountants want to supply advisory services? It's a serious question because a number of accountants have indicated to me recently that they're either too busy or they haven't got the resources, or they're really not that interested in supplying advisory services to their SME clients. So do you want to supply advisory services? Or do you prefer to only provide taxation and other compliance services to SME clients? An important question, though, is do you tell your clients that you're not interested in supplying advisory services to them and that they should seek advisory services from someone else? You could probably detain doing the tax return work. So what advice are you giving to clients about the challenges that are confronting all businesses in 2023-24 with high interest rates, high inflation, the constant talk about a recession? What's it all mean to your SME clients? So let's look at what others are saying. Financial forecasting is the most important task that accountants can perform for SME clients. This was a statement made by Adam Hale, a partner in Summit CPA, the USA accounting firm that various people are crediting as being the leading light in the taking up of a chief financial officer service by American accountants for SME clients. Hale also indicated that a lot of my clients are saying, well, I'm going to pay 2 to 3 times what I used to, but I'm not getting value services from my present accountants. So I will sign up with Summit CPA. That's a fairly strong statement, isn't it? I'm prepared to pay 2 to 3 times what I'm used to, but I'm not getting what I need from my current accountant, so I'll sign up with Summit CPA to get that service, which is basically a virtual CFO service. Andrew Geddes had this comment: it's a new business model. I think it's going to revolutionize the sector. This is when he commented on the presentation that Adam Hale had made explaining what his service was to SME clients. And what about the tax commissioner's comments? You must understand that if your business model is high volume, low margin, simple tax returns, your business will not be viable in 3 to 5 years. Now, the commissioner made that comment about 18 months ago. So there's not much more time left in his prediction. He also said he was issuing this as a blunt warning to the accounting profession. Things are changing because of technology, because of software improvements, because of changes the tax office has made. The tax commissioner is saying that a lot of salary wage earner returns will disappear as being prepared by accountants, and that micro businesses might find that they don't need to go to an accountant or a tax agent to lodge their tax returns. So how is that going to affect your business? And how's it going to affect your competitors? Are they going to close down if they lose out on that sort of market, or are they going to try to start supplying a broader range of services? Jordan went on to say, focus on becoming a brilliant and trusted advisor. Christian Weelage, the CEO of Plan Guru Inc. in the USA, the developers of software for predictive accounting purposes, made the following comments about advisory services. Summit CPA, who is a client of Plan Guru, is a role model for the American accounting industry on the types of services that can be provided to assist SMEs to achieve their business visions. So strongly does Summit CPA feel about predictive accounting that their policy for clients is appoint us to undertake the CFO work, or we will say no to your request that we accept appointments as your accountants. That's pretty strong. So Summit CPA is saying that you've got to sign on for the full package. Otherwise, go to someone else that's just happy to do the tax return. Summit CPA receives thousands of resumes each year from accountants that want to come and work for them because the work is exciting and cool. That's interesting. I think the term fractional CFOs, which includes ex-bankers, corporate finance people and others, which could be bookkeepers, as well as accounting firms, better describes the emerging service providers to assist SMEs on real accounting services, Christian Weirich says. So he's saying the market in America is becoming more than professional accounting firms. It's becoming corporate accountants, people that have had a long experience in corporate entities have decided they can bring some of those skills that they've developed to help SMEs. They're not worried about doing the tax return or any of the other compliance work. They're leaving that to accounting firms, if accounting firms are prepared to continue to do that, not have the business work. Weirich also said, I'd say 10 years ago, the vast majority of people delivering these services were non-accounting firms offering CFO services, but that is starting to change. Accounting automation is eliminating a lot of the basic accounting work. And this is what Adam Hale's saying. And a growing number of firms are filling this void by offering fractional CFO services. But Weirich also said that so are others, other people, ex-bankers, corporate accountants, corporate finance people, bookkeepers are offering the services as well as some accounting firms. Mark Holton, Director of Smith Inc. in Australia, commented on the challenges in a podcast that I conducted with Mark last week. I think small business owners need good quality advice on how to survive. That's really zeroing in on 2023-24 conditions, isn't it? And Mark went on to say, this is an opportunity for the accountancy profession to get out there and start work with SME clients on futuristic strategies. This is an opportunity for the accounting profession to get out there and start work with SME clients on futuristic strategies. Mark Holton went on to say accountants need to be seriously looking at the type of advisory services that they need to deliver for their SME clients. It's important that accountants let the clients know that you're there to have a chat and help them work out a plan to address any of the current issues or potential issues and create a sustainability plan or even a growth plan to improve profitability. Now, I don't know of anyone that's just performing compliance services that does all this work. I think it clearly falls into the advisory services basket. So if you're doing this and you think you're still just doing compliance work, well, I think you are doing advisory. But if you're not, Mark Holton, a very experienced business consultant and an accountant in his own right, is saying you need to be implementing those sort of services. Well, what's your response to all of this as you reflect on the services that your firm provides your SME clients? What you think about it? Unfortunately, our observation at ESS BIZTOOLS is that the accounting profession is not responding positively to the problems that SME clients are experiencing. People tell me they're very busy doing Compliance work. Well, compliance work doesn't help your clients run better businesses. It's all in the past. Mark Holton in the podcast referred to it as rear vision thinking, looking behind, looking in the past. Okay, that determines the amount of tax that we have to pay Canberra. But does it help your client survive in 2023-24? I don't think so. Is it your worry? Well, you can debate that. But if your clients get into difficulties, and thousands of businesses already around Australia have, it will affect your business then. For 25 years, I have urged SME clients to seek advice from professional accounting firms on matters relating to compliance as well as advisory services. But I'm about to change that. Given the number of accounting firms that do not positively offer advisory services, or who say they're offering them, but then don't do so, or tell me they're too busy on compliance work, we are going to promote to SME clients that there are other people who can give this advice. Ex-bank managers, corporate accountants, bookkeepers, and other people who have probably had a background in the finance industry. This will be on similar lines to what the Americans are now calling fractional CFO services, because it is the CFO service, the predictive accounting component of that service, that's so important to help your clients survive. So what are the services that SMEs require? First and foremost, I think it's an advisor who takes the time to get a clear understanding of just how this business works. And there's more in that, a lot more in that, than if you're just preparing an annual set of accounts and an income tax return. I'm always amazed to talk to accountants who tell me that they've acted for XYZ for 5, 10 years, but never been to the business premises, never been to the farm, never observed what happens. Well, that might get you through on a tax return basis, but I don't think it gets you anywhere when it comes to advisory service, especially a virtual CFO service. And Adam Hale from Summit CPA in America has a terminology for a business due diligence review. It is 1 inch wide, but a mile deep. Is the knowledge that you need to have. Now, quite frankly, that's what you would need if you were the CFO of a larger company, a public company, or even a large private company. If you're the full-time CFO, you need to know a lot more about it than just 1 inch wide. But you need to go a mile deep. You really need to understand all the internal control points, all the selling points, all the risks that the business has got. The monitoring of the key indicators, debtors days outstanding, creditors days outstanding, the KPIs, the individual performance of the individual operations, not all just consolidated together, where an individual operation that might be costing a lot of money can be lost in the system. You need to have this 1 inch wide, 1 mile deep approach. You need a business plan, develop in conjunction with the client's leadership team, not something you go off and just write yourself. You need to involve the leadership team to get their input, to get their knowledge, to get their support. And from there, we need predictive accounting reports, because this is the financial interpretation of the business plan, not written the other way around. The predictive accounting first, then the business plan. The business plan should be written first, and then the financial implications of that business plan are put into the predictive accounting reports, which comprise budgets, the key drivers, debtors, creditors, inventory, labour manning, research and development projects are all part of what's included in key drivers. The cash flow forecast, the projected balance sheet. So you can say to your client, if you do all these things, this is what you will look like in 5 years' time. It gives them some goal to aim for. The next big thing is to assist in the development of what we're calling the 52 week of the year business analysis. It's a terminology that Adam Hale uses. And it goes back to making sure your clients are getting daily key performance indicators, which are applicable to most businesses. Not all, I'll admit, but most. On a weekly basis, a performance report and a profit and loss report, they can be prepared. Big companies do this for their little operations. I was the CFO in a listed public company. Obviously, listed and public go together. But we were in the meat industry. We had large meatworks in the eastern states of Australia. We had retail butcher shops. We had delicatessens. We had cold stores. That each of those activities, the local regional manager received profitability and performance reports every week. And those reports were all funneled through to my team, and we analysed them and presented it all to the CEO by a Wednesday at lunchtime, Wednesday of immediately 3 days after the end of the week. And we were coming back some years ago. We didn't have the computer technology that now exists. I imagine that deadline today would be sometime on Tuesday. Now you can help your clients set up these systems, because some of your clients are probably competing with offshoots of large companies who are getting this sort of service. So the manager gets an immediate feedback. This was your gross profit. This was your average sale. This was your turnover. This was your bottom line profitability or loss. So tweaking can immediately take place. Most of our SME clients just trade on in complete ignorance to some of the things that may have happened last week. They need assistance. And the only person that I can really see them getting assistance from are accountants. But if you don't supply it, others are lining up to offer these services. And at the end of the month, we need profit and loss accounts every month, not once every blue moon or at the end of June. Every month they need a profitability report that is compared back to the budget that was done as part of the predictive accounting process. And then they need balance sheet analysis. Why? Because there's some very important sub-accounts linking back to the balance sheet. Debtors, the debtors days outstanding, the debtors analysis, creditors days outstanding. Especially if some of your clients are receiving their raw materials from a very important supplier and they're on strict payment terms, 30 days. Now, if they've let that blow out, that could be a danger signal. That supplier might say, we're not going to cop this any longer. We're going to terminate our arrangement because we've got someone else who will pay us 30 days. What happens to your client's business then if that's a unique supplier? It could be in all sorts of strife. Key performance indicators for the overall business. The rolling forecast, budgets and cash flow forecasts. We've already got a budget and a cash flow forecast on an annual basis, but it's then necessary to analyse that and say, well, we've got to do some tweaking. We've got to do some changes. Don't go back and change the budget. Change a rolling forecast. Hopefully, the marketing and sales team will still be concentrating on achieving what the targets were set in the budget. But perhaps senior management and the CFO, you as the CFO, have made some subtle changes so that you can assure the owner and the board of directors or the board of advice that, okay, we're not going to be quite as good as what the budget said, but this is what we're going to finish up. And they may say, oh, okay, given the circumstances, we're happy with that. This is real management. How do your clients get that at present if you're not giving them this type of service? Now, some of them will have spouses who can supply these services to them, but that won't be too many of them. Most of your clients are working in the dark, but many of them want to grow. They want to scale up. They want to improve their business performance. They also realise that we're in the middle of a very difficult business period. So they know they need some assistance. You could then produce the financial report just as you would if it was a larger corporation and submit it. Hopefully your client's got a board of advice. If not, talk to them about it. Board of advisors are very important these days because most of them will not have a functioning board of directors. That might be the couple who own the business. They're sitting on the board. That's really not a board of directors unless they're very efficient. But it's the board of advice. You should be on it, just a financial expert, of course. And a couple of other people, preferably from a different industry, so that they're getting a different industry input. So how they're working. The board of advice should meet monthly, probably in the third or fourth week of the month, so that the financial accounts, all the reports are prepared, so they can be analysed. And they should receive those at least 3 days before the meeting. And they should be paid, because this is not amateur hour. It is serious help to help your clients run better businesses. Let's look at the supplementary services that I think accountants should be gearing up to supply if you're going to be submitting advisory services to your clients. A strategic review each year, preferably undertaken in April, May, so that the planning is done before the start of the financial year. But it's not too late if you haven't done them so far for this year. Organise your clients now. We're just starting a few weeks later than what I think is ideal. And sit down and go through the business. The template we've developed based on actual knowledge of other systems that have been developed runs for a day and a half. Really go through the business, but some businesses won't be as big as some of the others. Won't just need to justify that amount of time. I need to be half a day or a day. Tradies charge out rate calculator to make sure they're going to earn their targeted profits. Same for professional firms. Retailers have a different problem. They've got various product types that have got all different sorts of markups, and they're going to have different volumes of those products that are acceptable in their marketplace. What's all that mean? Are they going to be able to have a plan structure built around their promotion so they're going to earn that profit? Key performance indicator monitoring is very important. Public companies do it all the time. Not enough emphasis is placed on this by SMEs. And that's primarily because you're not there driving it, because you're only worried about the tax returns. Or that's where most accountants are sitting. Now, some have moved into offering advisory services, and I congratulate you and thank you on behalf of the SME industry, but they need more accounting firms to gear up to supplying this wider range of services to help them survive. And incidentally, it's also going to help your firm, because this is interesting and challenging work. Periodically, now let's go through some of the periodic things. Research and development. Do you know that the Oz industry expect that the claim for research and development for small companies, turnovers under 20 million, but some of them might be zero, for 2022/23 is going to be expenditure of about $4.3 billion. That's companies with turnovers under $20 million, and a lot of them are very small SMEs. Yet when I ring accountants and talk to them about services that are being provided and talk to them about research and development, I get answers like, oh, I don't understand research and development, or we got no clients doing it. No, I've never asked them if they're doing it. Yet, as an industry category, that is the biggest segment of research and development going on in businesses in Australia, according to the Oz industry figures. I think it might be a good time to sit down and talk to your clients and find out if they are doing research and development. Now, some of them may have already gone up and seen other people, and hopefully you would have noticed that. Government grants checklist for innovation grants. We had for 12 years accelerating commercialisation. Were you familiar with it? Clients could get up to $1 million grant from the Commonwealth. No strings attached, other than the company had to match whatever the grant was. Now, in the federal budget a couple of months ago, the Federal Treasurer announced the termination of accelerating commercialisation on the night of the budget speech, but did indicate that the government would be introducing a replacement as an incentive for smaller businesses later in 2023. Now, there's been some preliminary information on that, and it's going to be for grants of $50,000 to $5 million. So it's a good idea to start getting ready for and getting your clients ready to apply. What about fundraising? You know, years ago, I was a consultant to Oz Industry for the COMET program, Commercialising Emerging Technology. There are only 12 of us in Australia handling that program, and we got through and helped a lot of businesses, and some of them are now going very well. But all we could help them with when it came to raising some money was Section 708 of the Corporations Act. But now we've got early stage innovation company, and we've got crowdsourced funding equity raising. Are you familiar with those, how they work? Can you help your clients through that process? We've got all the material for everything I'm talking about today in our ESS BIZTOOLS system. Or you might be able to borrow money, or your client might be able to borrow money, but I hope they got the security they can offer to the lender. KPI monitoring, the business health check process is very important. Risk management, including the personal property securities register. I'm amazed at the amount of people who look at me blankly when I ask them if they've considered personal property securities register. Buying a business, selling a business, succession planning. Not annual events, I must admit, for most businesses, but things that you could be talking to your clients. I'm sure you will always have some clients who are interested in these periodic activities. Advice on the formation of a family council. Cash flow advice, primarily debtors management. It's a huge problem for Australian small businesses. Delivery of chief financial officer services. An annual strategic review that I mentioned before, the SME needs analysis, which can help you have a conversation with your client. I get accountants contact me and say, oh, we got tongue-tied. Well, that's what they mean. We sat down with a client, we didn't know where to start. Well, we've developed in conjunction with Andrew Geddes, the founder of Financial Management Research Centre, with some other people, a checklist just to prompt you, sort of things to talk to your client about, rather than the weather. Survival in difficult times product package, very appropriate for today. We originally wrote that 10 years ago, and we've modified it ever since, every year, because there's always a crisis in Australia. Someone's trying to survive. Well, unfortunately, there's a lot of businesses trying to survive this year, this financial year, and probably next financial year. I think they need your help. Client mentoring and coaching, this follows on from that. The Export Market Development Grant, are you aware it's changed? It's only available for companies up to 20 million, or businesses, sorry, my mistake, not companies, businesses, sole traders, partnerships, trusts and companies can apply for the Export Market Development Grant. And it's not only someone that's actually exporting, it might be a misnomer, but businesses in Australia who are offering services to overseas residents to come to Australia, such as accommodation, whitewater rafting, trips to the Barrier Reef. Those sort of people, if they're spending money on marketing and promotion to overseas residents, can also submit a claim or an application for the Export Market Development Grant. I really believe you need to know about these things so you can be advising your clients. It's obviously your decision if you decide that you're not interested in any of this, and I've probably driven you mad already. I think you should tell your clients you're only going to offer compliance services, and tell them if they need other advice on any of the matters we've discussed today, and there are others, I know that. We've got 4 other projects underway at present, which will be in our system by the end of this year. Tell them to go and talk to someone else who's identified as being interested in supplying advisory service. If you don't know anyone, you can refer them to me, and we will undertake the work anywhere in Australia under our consultancy business, Towers Business Development. We do work all over Australia. And we will take that on. Or if the client agrees, we will introduce them to one of our subscribing member firms closer to their location who can talk to them. So I've just said that. Hopefully the client will leave you with the compliance work. That's all you want. I don't think that's a good policy on your point of view, but that's your decision. Let's look at this. Andrew Geddes, who I think is the guru of the Australian accounting industry, especially when it comes to this need to better service our SME clients. He said accountants must diversify now. When Andrew Geddes speaks, smart accountants listen. I've thought that for many years. I've known Andrew for a long time and worked with him very closely. I think you'd be crazy not to think about what he's saying. Accountants must diversify now. He's had over 40 years experience in accounting and financial industries, and he's respected as a top financial industry guru. So let's look at what he said. Diminished returns flowing into practices relying solely on tax compliance work are going to impact sooner rather than later, Andrew said. Going to impact sooner rather than later. He backed up the comments that were made by the Tax Commissioner, warned of dark times ahead for firms that rely principally on tax clients. There's always going to be tax returns for businesses. But what the Tax Commissioner, who's an ex-partner in KPMG, is telling us that the taxation component is going to reduce because of technology. And for some people, they basically won't need accounting services. So what does that do to the accounting, bookkeeping and allied industries markets? I think he's giving you fair warning that there's changes. And this information we're getting from America is the same thing is happening. The smart move for accountants is to transition into business advisory services. Now, Andrew Geddes said, so you're in there. You've gone through and worked the systems out, which is what he then said. It can't be just a knee-jerk reaction. If you watch this webinar and you say, we're going to do it tomorrow. Now, I hope you do resolve that, but don't jump into it. You need to subscribe to a package like ours unless you've already spent hundreds of hours developing systems for yourself. You need to make sure your team have been trained in how to deliver it. You need to then start communicating with your clients, who for years have probably thought that you're only interested in undertaking compliance work. And this is one of the key bits of feedback we get from firms who then start to do this. There needs to be a softening up process, a communication process with your clients, reflected in your website, in your newsletters. Now, you subscribe to ESS BizTools, you receive a monthly newsletter, which you can badge, it's called Business Plus, and send to your clients. That will help deliver a message to them that your firm is now interested in offering advisory services. So it must all, Geddes went on to say, it must be considered, discussed, and executed to a developed and agreed plan. I couldn't agree more so. Very important. So let's go back to a reflection. Hopefully you're thinking about some of the issues that I've raised, and there's heaps of others also, as they affect your accounting firm. But they also affect your SME clients and your accounting team members who are looking for interesting and challenging work. Think back to what I revealed earlier. Thousands of accountants in America are writing letters each year to Summit CPA to see whether they can get a job. Experienced accountants, because they're saying, we can see the writing on the wall. We can see that the taxation work is decreasing. We now want to get into this new service offering, which is not a licensed area. So you don't have to be registered or approved by any governmental authority. So it's also open to a whole range of other people to be out there offering these services. So there's no exclusivity for accountants in this market. I just think accountants are the premier group to supply these services. But many of you are indicating to me, either directly or indirectly, that you're really not interested. And this is a appeal to see whether we can find more people who might be interested. So there's enormous challenges confronting SMEs. They're looking for assistance. Many of them want to grow their businesses. We prefer to continue to support accountants to be supplying advisory services. But if you don't want to do it, can you please refer to your clients to someone else who will offer advisory services? Or as I said earlier, send me an email, peter@essbiztools.com.au, and I will look to have a conversation with you and your client, and perhaps the services could be supplied by our company, Towers Business Development, or I will find one of our members closer to your location who can supply those services to your clients. If you want to know more, please go to our website, www.essbiztools.com.au, to familiarise yourself with the tools that we're offering, tools that go with each of the items I've talked about. We do have a special offer, and it's now going to close on the 16th of August. Our starter package, which originally was $2,100, we've reduced to $1,529, including GST. And we have some holiday packages left with 2 of those. And perhaps you want the advanced package, the one I just referred to as the starter package. That's the bread and butter. Let's get you started. The advanced package is everything that ESS BizTools produces. It's a whole range of information. Was $6,500. We are committed to trying to get more accountants involved in this advisory space this year, because I think your clients need it. So I've reduced that price to $2,519, or you can pay monthly if you like, $239, but you only get the 2 holiday packages if you pay up front, $2,519, including GST. Now you should be able to turn that into thousands of dollars of revenue if you go about this with a plan, and we have a suggested plan in the system. So why don't you send us an email if you want to have a meeting, peter@essbiztools.com.au, or make a phone call, if that's easier, 1800-232-088. And we'll set up a Zoom meeting, 45 minutes, no obligation on your part. Complimentary meeting. I'll take you through it. I'll ask you some questions. You can ask me some questions. We'll talk about how you could start delivering advisory services to help your clients survive the challenges of 2023-24. Thank you for being with us or watching this video. And I hope that I will hear from you very soon. Goodbye. I look forward to having a conversation with you. Stay safe. Goodbye.